Lesson 2-3, slope. So when we talk about slope, we are talking about the change in y over the change in x. Sometimes we refer to this as rise over run. And then our formula, so we use m to symbolize slope, is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. Or we can write it as m equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So what's important is the order that we are subtracting things in. So the x1, y1, and then y1, that's a point. And then the second point would be the x2, y2. So what matters is if we subtract y2, then y1, we have to subtract the x value from that point to the second point. So when you're looking at this, this should be a point, and then this should be a point. So that's the part that matters when we are applying the slope formula. Okay, so we're just going to practice finding slope from different situations. So anytime we are given 2 points, this is the x1, y1, and then x2, y2. So my slope is going to be 1 minus 3 over negative 5 minus 2. And then we just simplify. So that will be negative 2 over negative 7. And then two negatives cancel each other out. So 2 over 7 would be my final answer for the slope. All right, so again, x1, y1, x2, y2. So we're going to take 5 minus 7. So it's always the y's on top. And then 3 minus 3. So this will be negative 2 over 0. So anytime we divide by 0, that's not allowed. So this is going to be undefined. Now, if the 0's on the top, that's okay. Then our slope would just be 0. Now, if we're trying to identify slope from an equation, we want it to be in the form of y equals mx plus b. So the y needs to be by itself. And then once it is, whatever number's with the x, that's your slope. So in this case, our slope is going to be negative 2/5 because our y is alone, and then this is what's with the x. Okay. Now, if we have an equation where we need to identify slope and it's not solved for y, that's the first thing that we would do. So for this one, I would need to start by subtracting 8x. So this will be 3y equals negative 8x plus 15. And then divide everything by 3. So y equals negative 8/3 x plus 5. So again, the slope is always the number in front of the x when y is solved. So this will be negative 8/3 for that answer. Okay. And then from graphs, we can either identify 2 points and do our formula, or we can just count. So when we count, we always want to go from left to right. And remember, it's always the y over the x when we do this. So here, I'm going down 1. So if I go down, that's a negative. And then I'm going to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is negative 1/4. Okay, so same thing, I'm just counting. So this time I'm going up first. So I would go 1, 2, 3. And then from here I'm counting over 1, 2. So 3 halves would be my slope for this one. And that's going to conclude this section.